Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, and you were in the Java Cafe this morning. We are relaunching today a segment that we started in 2021 called Your Healthy Java. Now, I am not a medical professional. I was unable to secure a medical professional today, but I wanted to stay committed to going back to these first Tuesdays and third Tuesdays like we used to do for Your Healthy Java. And so we are in the process of talking to a few medical providers, a couple of medical entities, and partners to make sure that we have medical professionals in the building when we discuss these topics. However, there is enough reliable information on websites like the Boston Public Health Commission, the State Department of Public Health, the federal and the CDC right now. That's one of the reasons why we're going back to Your Healthy Java. So we're going to go tap in a few moments to a couple of topics that we've discussed before. One most recently brought up when we asked the audience about some topics they would like discussed. The Real Boston Media brought up seasonal effectiveness disorder, as well as there are 45 days left until Thanksgiving. And we know that typically in our culture, tradition, across all cultures, Thanksgiving and the holidays tend to be a time where we may consume more alcohol, more foods that may not be quote unquote good for us. And so we're going to discuss that a little bit, as well as talk about some respiratory diseases. This time of year, there is typically a conflation or coming together. And since COVID, if you remember, we typically are dealing with the flu, COVID, and also RSV, and it impacts children and elderly folks differently. So we want to make sure that we discuss these three topics. I cannot reiterate enough. I am not a medical professional. I joked about Dr. Java in the building, or put Dr. Java or something in the description. However, you should always seek a medical professional when it comes to your health. And I know that in some spaces, finding a primary doctor is interesting, but I wanted to mention that at my recent visit at Dorchester House or Dot House Healthcare, they currently have openings for primary care physicians. And so we're going to share that information too. Don't forget also, if you are a EBT recipient, you have the ability, while these are still available, you have the ability to go to farmers markets and get some points to get fresh fruits and vegetables as a healthy option as well. So before we begin this morning and talking about seasonal effectiveness disorder, let's go into Java Cafe in the Facebook section and see who's in this morning and say hello to folks that are in the room. First, we have Mama Java in the room. Good morning. Good to see you in the room this morning, Ma. Miss Teresa is in the room talking about health in Your Healthy Java, and also speaking things into existence and things like that. We are glad that Miss Teresa is home. We made a declaration a few weeks ago that she would be home by last Thursday. And we got that information on Thursday that she was going home. So, Miss Teresa, it's good to see you in the room. Michelle D. Smith, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room this morning. Pastor Marion, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room. Nisi, good morning. Good to see you in the room this morning. My friend Milagro is over on YouTube. Good morning to you. Also, Nisi is saying good morning. Milton, my brother, good morning. Good to see you in the room. We are going to share also some information that dropped yesterday in reference to the Red Cup celebration is taking place next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday. So anyway, who else is in the room this morning? Pastor Naraki, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Also, Mother Davis is in the room. Mother Davis, we want to encourage you that as we declared and you declared that you would walk by December 31st. Our first declaration happened. Miss Teresa went home by Thursday. So we believe that by December 31st, you're going to take some steps and then get a good shout in as well. But Mother Lisa from the DMV, good to see you in the room. My friend and sister Asia is in the room as well. And also Pastor Sharon Cornelius, good to see you in the room. Let's hop over for a second to the Instagram section of the Java Cafe, Ace Mud 23. Sister Court is over on Instagram. R. Dora Robertson is over on Instagram as well. And Big Q 48210 hopped on Instagram as well. And so we are going to begin today with discussing a couple of topics that we've talked about in this space before. And the first one is our physical health. And we've talked about guarding the gates, our eye gates, our ear gates, and things like that. But in the winter, it's definitely different. And so there are things this season like the flu, RSV, COVID, and just regular plain old, colds. There was an uptick in visits to the ER the week of September 14th. Presumably, that was probably around kids going back to school. And we know how that goes. But our best defense, consistency, wash your hands all the time. Do your best to use sanitizer when you can. Also, be cognizant when you're in spaces with babies and elders. If you coughing, sneezing, and things, consider putting on a mask. Get your updated vaccines, the flu shot, the COVID booster, RSV. Also, if you qualify, and don't forget the basics like drinking orange juice, things like vitamin C, hydration, and rest. Those are huge prevention things that can keep us healthy during the winter. And also just keep some of our babies and our elders from being sick as well. The other thing we're going to talk about is mental health. And also, these shorter days come with a change in mood. Let's also mention that the change in weather can be interesting. I'm a little aggravated because I put all my summer clothes away. We had days that it was dropping down to the 60s. It is now October 7th, and it's going to be 81 degrees today. And so the variation in the weather, shorter days, not having as much sun, not getting as much vitamin D is also an issue. The body reacts to less sunlight. And we're inside more, so we have to consider that. That's why it's important to breathe, literally be intentional about that. If that's something that you notice that this time of year that things are a little bit different for you, be very intentional about. And I will share a resource from the Boston Public Health Commission right now that gives us some information and some suggestions around things we can do to address seasonal affectiveness disorder. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. And here and there, I'll share resources about these particular topics. The other thing that we're going to talk about today is our community health and how important it is that we have access to healthcare. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the Boston Public Health has some vaccination clinics that are going on. And so we're going to share that as well. Let's go for a second and just define what seasonal affectiveness disorder is. And this is defined by the Mayo Clinic, a trusted source. We also have to remember we have to be careful when we are searching information about medical advice on the internet. And so the Mayo Clinic is a trusted place to get medical information. Seasonal affectiveness disorder is a type of depression that's related to changes in seasons. SAD, the acronym for it, begins and ends about the same time every year. If you're like most people with SAD, your symptoms start in the fall and continue into the winter months, sapping your energy and making you feel sometimes moody. These symptoms often resolve during the spring and summer months. Less often, SAD causes depression in the spring or early summer and resolves during the fall or winter months. I've always jokingly said that I find it interesting that people have seasonal affectiveness disorder from the fall and winter into the spring and summer. Me, myself, but No disrespect to those that deal with it in that space. And so that is the definition of seasonal effectiveness disorder. And as I just shared a few minutes ago, there are things that we can do to address that. We can do our best to stay active. For example, going out for a walk, taking advantage. And as we talk about often with the Coalition for Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront, they have a lot of activities in the winter, in the summer as well, but in the winter as well. But stay active, look to be out in spaces as much as you can while the sun is still up. Go out for a walk during your lunch break, but get as much sunlight as you can. Also, while you're going to be inside, be intentional about your space. Make it a space that you're comfortable in. What are your favorite colors? Do you put a plant there? Do you put a what is it? Demystifier, where I call it electronic incense, but the thing that smells good. I think it's a demystifier. But anyway, be intentional about your space, since we tend to be more inside during the winter. Think about starting a new hobby or project. We talked about, and it's Testimony Tuesday, we've often talked about the intentionality of testing ourselves and expanding ourselves via tests like reading different books and picking up a new hobby. People crochet, people, I don't know, are into what do you call it, botany and plant growing and things like that. Research and get some things done to get ready for your garden in the spring, because before you know it, it will be March and you need to have your seedlings ready. So think about a new hobby as well. Be intentional about connecting with others, as much as we don't want to over isolate. Figure out ways virtually to connect with folks. Think back to 2020 when we couldn't see people, we connected virtually. Best energy is in spaces with people, but we also have to own that for some of us, and I just learned this new term the other day, there are ambiverts and also outroverts, where some of us function outside because of what we do, and we get some energy, when we're outside, but then very quickly we can isolate and be fine. Isolation is not a bad thing. Just be intentional about it. The last thing here is also set some realistic expectations for the holidays. It's okay if things aren't perfect. We've talked here in my concern, and I've shared this with others, and they share the concern as well, but especially for men and or providers. We, often just say men because of our conditioning and tradition that men are providers, but single moms and all of us, the holidays are coming. I just said that there are 45 days before Thanksgiving, and that would give another month or so before Christmas. And typically, if we have children and loved ones, we want to make sure that we express our gifts in a materialistic manner, which is fine if you're able to do that, but don't go into debt. So set realistic expectations. Depending on your children's age, let them know they may not get that iPhone 17 this year. So I'm going to leave that alone. Avoid excessiveness. As I said before, not just around seasonal effectiveness disorder, but if you're isolating and alone and, having a little sip of whiskey here and there in the evening, a glass of wine or something like that, no judgment, cool, do you. But if you're going through a bottle of wine and a fifth of other things in a day or two, that could be interesting. So avoid that. Avoid excessiveness with eating unhealthy foods. Like we're getting ready to get in sweet potato pie and coconut cake and wonderful turkey wings with gravy and stuffing and chitlins and things like that. So also consider helping others as a way to get out and get involved. That's something else that you can do. Also be aware of your mood. Know that, is the weekend a time for you that you see there are a lot of things going on? You may feel some pressure to go out and you may not want to go out. Take the liberty to do what you want to do, but then also in addition to that, be aware it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to not be okay for a long period of time, to where you have totally isolated, you're not communicating with anyone. We've shared often here that you may not be getting in the shower for 2 or 3 days and taking care of yourself. Be knowledgeable of that. I wanted to share one other resource that is available to us at the worst case scenario. If there are those that you can't talk to and those that you can't connect with, you can always call 988 and check in with them, and they are there to listen. And then lastly, I wanted to share some other advice that they gave us here. And I shared this link from the Boston Public Health Commission. If at worst, and I said before, you can seek professional help. If these feelings become severe and disrupt your life, professional help can be very valuable. Therapy like cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, has shown to give results for SAD. The Boston Employee Assistance Program for those that work for the city of Boston can offer short-term counseling or help for you to find a therapist. They also have a resource list for community and online support. And if you want information additionally, because they put this in here about the vaccination clinic, I'm going to put actually the phone number and also the email address for you to reach out and find out more information about the vaccination clinic, as well as the email address to get information about anything that the Boston Public Health Commission is doing. So that information is here. The Real Boston Media just came in, and I wanted to let them know there's the phone number that actually should have been a banner. Hold on, folks. The Real Boston Media just came in, and we just discussed the topic that you suggested a couple of weeks ago about seasonal effectiveness disorder. So make sure you go back and check that out, the folks from the Real Boston Media. I am putting the phone number and the email address up for those that want more information about the Boston Public Health Commission and the services that they offer. There is the email address, and actually, let me just make that a little bit bigger. There we go, so you can see it clearly. There is the email address, and there is the phone number. And additionally, I put the resource link and information in the comments. Shout out to Mixtape Chick over on Instagram from Beckma. We'll talk more about that later this week, about the Mass Black Expo and everything that was an awesome event there, and some other things. But again, here is the information for the Boston Public Health Commission around the vaccination clinics, flu information, RSV, COVID, and others, as well as getting information about how to address if you're experiencing seasonal effectiveness disorder. The other thing I wanted to just highlight a little bit more is that we want to be cognizant of respiratory diseases during this time of year. COVID, the flu, RSV, those are respiratory diseases that, if you all remember, for the past couple of winters, when all three of those are going on at the same time, and then don't have asthma, don't have severe winter allergies, all of those things coming together can be very interesting for our community. So we want to, just like we're cognizant of our mood around seasonal effectiveness disorder, we also want to be cognizant if we are coughing, sneezing, consider wearing a mask to protect those that you are around, especially young children and babies, our elderly, those with, as we were saying in 2020, I don't want to say pre-existing illnesses, that other that's not a good affirmation, but we want to be cognizant of those that have asthma, our elderly, our children as well. And so again, you can get more information about that at the Boston Public Health Commission. I also wanted to make sure that I shared the information about the vaccination clinics that the Boston Public Health Commission is offering as well. And so I'm going to put that link here for you to get more information about that. The next one is actually tomorrow at the Mattahunt, where one of our charter members, he and his wife are charter members. Brother Raymond Heath is the, I believe, program director at the Mattahunt. And so that is taking place tomorrow from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Mattahunt. Flu ages 6 months and older, COVID-19 ages 6 months and older. And so I'm going to put the schedule, the link in the comments, so you can have the information yourself to find out about the vaccination clinics. And we also appreciate the Real Boston Media resharing and posting this Your Healthy Java. For those of you that are tuning in and wondering what is Jimmy talking about today, we are relaunching Your Healthy Java, which is a segment that we focus on our healthcare. I was unable today to secure a medical professional, so I'm doing my best based on accurate information from trusted resources like the Mayo Clinic, Boston Public Health Commission, and the Mass Department of Public Health. All right, the vaccination clinic information is up in the comments, as well as I put the other information up, which was the information about seasonal effectiveness disorder and where you can get resources and some suggestions to address it. So there, that is here. I know on James W. Hill's Facebook, I know I didn't put them over there. Hop on a Java with Jimmy and to get the information over there. All right, we got somebody that is speaking over on Twitter. Thank you, the Real Boston Media, for jumping on over there. We definitely appreciate all of the support. So just a quick, wow, we did 20 minutes went by real quick. Actually about 15 because we said our hellos. That's just a quick segment in for Your Healthy Java. Speaking of Your Healthy Java and health, it's cuffing season, y'all. Some of us another year without being cuffed. And you know, sometimes during cuffing season, you're trying on different cuffs and things, it's getting cool outside, so you want somebody to cuddle up with. And sometimes with that, there comes some activity that can make us unhealthy. So, we wanted to remind you that through our partnership with the Action for Boston Community Development, let me get the link ready for you all. We want to remind you that there are resources available to you 24 hours a day via the kiosk that are, and it's been a while since I've mentioned this, so let's see if I remember. 110 Claiborne Street in Dorchester, 514 Parker Street in the Fenway area, and 565 Warren Street in Roxbury. For 24 hour, there is 24-hour availability for you to go to these kiosks and get condoms, testing kits, pregnancy tests, things that you need to cuff safely. So let's just make sure you have that information. So after the club, before the club, Saturday morning, them early morning, calls and things that happen, make sure that you cuff safely. So let's make sure we get the link for you. Boom, boom, boom. Cuffing season. Where is it? Cuffing season. Wow. It's been a while since we put that link up. Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Cuffing season. I think this is it. Is this it? Yes, this is it. Hold on, y'all. I gotta make sure. Where is the cup? I'm just gonna look it up. I got a little distracted. All right, here we go. Wait. That's weird. I am going to get the link in a couple of seconds and put it up for you. But those are the locations: 110 Claiborne Street in Dorchester, 514 Parker Street in the Fenway area, and also 565 Warren Street in Dorchester. So please remember to cuff safely. And we're having, for influencers, we're having another cuffing season event. So we'll let you know about that. Asia said that her comments are on the James W. Hills page. So let's make sure that I'm going over there and engaging as well. And I will put the links over there in just a couple of seconds to make sure that everybody has the information. If you're listening on James W. Hills, I am putting the link for the there's Asia. I am putting the link for the vaccination clinics on that page, as well as the where is it? The seasonal effectiveness disorder page. And I lost that quick. All right, we're going back to like we used to. We're going back to what we used to do in the early days of Java with Jimmy, looking up resources in real time effectiveness. All right. This is not what this is not the link I had earlier. So hop on to the Java with Jimmy page to get that link. I want the same exact one that I had. Let's see what happens here. Go over to Java and the folks over on Instagram. I'm sorry, we the links won't hyperlink over there. Shout out to Kareem Reynolds that just jumped on Instagram. Good seeing you this weekend. Kathy, we could be cuffing while we. You know what? I'm not messing with you this morning. Okay, I see y'all trying to go a little after dark. We're not going to do that. Miss Teresa said, Miss Teresa said, put the vaccinations up right after the cuffing season link. Let me go get that link to make sure you all know that we can cuff safely out here. Where is my cuffing season link? All right. I can't believe that it's not working with me right now. I think this is it. This is it. Okay, here we go. Cuffing season, ABCD Health Services. Didn't we have our own? No, that's not the one. We had our own cuffing season link. All right, give me a couple of seconds. I'll put that up. Before we get ready to go, I wanted to congratulate some folks that we notified and we made public yesterday about the awards for our Red Cup celebration at the Museum of Science that is taking place next Wednesday. Hard to believe it's next Wednesday. This is so aggravating because I know this link is here. Next Wednesday at the Museum of Science. And so there we go. I knew I was going to be able to find it. Here's the link for you to be able to cuff safely, Jesus. As Miss Teresa said. Yep. They could, ABCD Health Services can get you some information how to cuff safely too. We're putting that over on James W. Hills if you're watching over there. So we got all type of information out there this morning. Vaccination information, seasonal effectiveness disorder, and also how to cuff safely. So make sure that you do that. That's it for me this morning. Before we go again, we wanted to congratulate in order of how we started recognizing people from community. We let Janae Alsterholt, the founder of A Beautiful Resistance, know that she is receiving the David William Hart, the Java with Jimmy Red Cup for humanitarianism. She's receiving that next week. And also two brothers that are very familiar, and one is in the Java Cafe every day, brother Mario Rodriguez, and also Milton DeSoto is receiving the Red Cup recognition, the Java with Jimmy Katrina Ublock Clark Red Cup for their work around to the Junto and the 3 block parties that took place last month. And then we have one more award that we're waiting to hear from Dr. Thea James. We've named a community public health award in her honor last year. And she is going to give us the name of that person, hopefully sometime today, so we can let them know that they are receiving their Red Cup. So don't forget the Red Cup The formal name is the Java with Jimmy, Java After Dark 5-year Red Cup celebration at the Museum of Science. Yes, that's the title. But we're going to be at the museum next Wednesday at 7 p.m. The attire, red, black, and white. It is a sneaker ball type feel, but I want you to be comfortable. I want you, the main thing is your presence. And we celebrating these folks from community, as I mentioned and announced. Jeff, 2 times after we do the community recognition and after we check in with my, I guess the term is my guest host, Nia Grace. We're going to examine the journey, the brand, and what's next for Java with Jimmy. And yes, that is what's happening next Wednesday. And then after that, after our influencers event, we get ready to shut down. What's today? Thanksgiving is 45 days away. A week before that, we got 38 days to hustle as an entrepreneur and get things together. We have not forgot a lot of the topics that you all shared that you wanted to hear. I have that list. Shout out to Keys for that. We're going to work on that next week. Additionally, we have some great programming for you on Monday the 13th. Jamal Werner from One Love Sports Academy will be with us. On Tuesday the 14th, Aisha James, the founder of Endless Flair, will be with us. And also on Wednesday, Mayor Wu will be with us at 9 a.m. Actually, next Wednesday, we're starting at 8:30 a.m. I realize that mayoral slot is now becoming a coveted slot, either right before her or right after her. And so I also am intentional about bringing attention to one of our guests next week, which will be Craig Martin, who is the founder of the Black Joy Summit. And also, I believe we'll be speaking with one of our medical entities that is sponsoring an HBCU focused health event. So please keep all of those things in mind. And then next Wednesday evening, 7 p.m., we'll be at the Museum of Science. There will be no programming on the 16th of October, that Thursday. I'm taking the day off that next day. Okay. Thank all of you for being here. I do owe you all one other link, which is to the Museum of Science event. And so let me get that out there for you and we'll get ready to go. If you are a member of Union Capital, you get an hour today for watching, as it is 10:34. And the link to the Museum of Science is there on the Java page, as well as I am putting it on James's page. That sounds so weird. I'm putting it on my personal page as well. We will do a recap tomorrow about GBH, the wonderful event we had there last Thursday. Also, the Beckma event and Jalen. And last night I met Brad Stevens, the general manager for the Celtics. I was going to get off the elevator. He came off. It's not starstruck. And I don't know all the names. So I'm like, never mind. I did you. And then he said his name. There was a young man there, and it was awesome to see him take the time and sign a young man's jersey and really be attentive to him. So shout out to Brad Stevens from the Boston Celtics that we got to meet last night. We'll talk about meeting Jaylen Brown. We'll talk about the wonderful event that ABCD had yesterday to raise funds for their programming. It was so great to see other alumni from the Summer Works program there. We'll talk about all of that tomorrow. All right. Thank you all for being here this morning. Shout out to folks that are listening on Twitter. Make sure, and additionally, thank you to all of our new followers across all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. At some point, we will do let me reintroduce myself. For those of you that are curious about the platform and wondering what it is, we're going to do an Instagram Live very soon. So you all can learn and maybe ask some questions. All right, that's it for me. Sister Charlotte, good to see you in the room this morning. He's a good dude. I ran into him in Maine 2 years ago and have volunteered for Hoop Dreams several times. Absolutely. The founder of Hoop Dreams, I don't remember. Oh, you're talking about Brad. See, Charlotte, I'm never letting go of this idea of Dr. Brandy, Charlotte, and Heidi doing a sports show like that. That would be awesome. All right, we're going to wrap up for sure this time. I hit the end button. I got one more button to hit to confirm it, and we're done. Again, shout out to the folks that jumped on over on Instagram and folks on Twitter and Facebook on James and Java. Thank you all for being here this morning. We'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place at 10 a.m. Enjoy your day, and we will talk with you soon. Peace, everybody.